Turner Network Television proudly presents the 1986 Goodwill Games from Moscow and from Madrid. Brought to you by Pepsi. When it comes to taste and refreshment, time after time, it's Pepsi, the choice of a new generation. By Snickers Bar, packed with peanuts, Snickers really satisfies. And by Budweiser, Beechwood Age for that clean, crisp taste. This Bud's for you.
And by CNN, the world's most important network and a proud sponsor of the Goodwill Games.
And now, here is the host of the 1986 Goodwill Games. From Moscow, Bob Neal.
Welcome back to Moscow and our coverage, our late-night coverage of the Goodwill Games of 1986. It's been an exciting day in basketball. The U.S. men's teams defeated the Italian team and moves into the second round of play in the World Basketball Championships in Spain. And here at the Goodwill Games, the U.S. women won the gold, 83-60, defeating the Soviet Union today. And we've got a lot of activity on the late-night show, Marianne.
Yes, we do, Bob. We're also going to be having this hour highlights of men's water polo, the United States versus Greece, and another step on their way to a confrontation, possibly with the Soviet Union. We'll have highlights of cycling from today's action from the Olympic Velodrome, and we're going to take a look at tomorrow's start of the wrestling competition. We're going to take a short look ahead at that. And since it's Thursday, Bob, if we have time, viewer mail.
Viewer mail. It's a letter poured in today, as a matter of fact. We've been telling you about the boxing situation during the past 5 days. We've been keeping you up to date on the Department of Defense ban that nearly wiped out the U.S. boxing team. With boxing starting tomorrow, we'd like to show you, for the first time, the young men that were hastily assembled to fill out the U.S. team. Very little is known about most of these boxers. 8 replacements arrived yesterday. The only class in which no replacement could be found was the super heavyweight class. The replacement was the only one they couldn't find one. Only one had been to Moscow, worked out yesterday to prepare for tomorrow's bouts. In many cases, these youngsters were called only 1 day in advance before leaving for the Soviet Union, and most didn't even have passports. So we'll introduce them to you and show you some of the faces. In the 106-pound class, Eusebius Zamudio, a 17-year-old high school junior from Blythe, California, on the Arizona border, and Jose Acevedo will fight in the bantamweight division. He got the call to come to the Goodwill Games while he was in the gym working out. And Tyrone Washington got the call while he was watching the Goodwill Games at his girlfriend's house in Washington, D.C. He had just finished saying, "I wonder who they'll get to fight." And 21-year-old Terry Sutherland was the bronze medalist at the 1986 Nationals. He works for a marketing firm in Cincinnati. And this is Ricky Royal. Also got the call while he was working out in a local Washington, D.C. gym, so he's probably in shape. Ricky's never been out of the country before. Ricky Royal. Ernie Chavez is 24 years old and will fight in the welterweight division. He was hit by a truck on March 31st and broke his leg, but he says his recovery's been complete. Lorenzo Wright, a 24-year-old middleweight, had no passport when he was called for the games 3 days ago, but he's here now, and he says he's ready to fight. 17-year-old Michael Simon has had 13 fights in his life. He will fight in the light heavyweight division. So there they are, the U.S. replacements. Last-minute arrivals who will try tomorrow to forget the controversy and simply box as best they can for their country. Skip Carey will be covering that boxing for us and for you, and he's here in our studio tonight to join us on our late-night show. We'll meet him and talk about boxing and moto ball when we come back.
Никто меня не слышит, но разве только Ива.
And yes, it is true, America. Skip Carey has arrived in Moscow. Welcome, Skip.
Why can't I fight in the super heavyweights? Huh?
You could. You're eligible.
Not for long.
There's a vacancy, not for long. I'm afraid some of the fighters that came might have a little bit of a tough time, too. By the way, before we get started, Skip did this as a kind of a show and tell. We have to wear credentials here around the Goodwill Games to get into the Ostankino television studios, where we're located on the north side of Moscow. And here are Skip's credentials. He still has them on. Yeah. One of them says Igri Dobre Voli.
Yes, it certainly does.
There. And it's Skip the before and after there.
Mm-hmm.
So
well, no,
we just want to...
neither one is too flattering, but then they didn't have much to work with. See, I didn't get my patch yet, so I figured I'd make up for it.
You're not in full uniform yet, but you will be by the time boxing starts. Enough of the lighthearted humor here at the top, because I know that you and I are usually serious when we get into this, so let's talk about the boxing a little bit. These youngsters have come over here. Boxing is going to get underway tomorrow with the quarterfinals. What do you think about this Defense Department ban, the replacements? What's been the feeling that you've been seeing while you're in the States about all this happening?
Well, I think everybody feels pretty much the same, that it was a bad deal. I'm not, we work for Turner Broadcasting, and I think it's a bad deal for them, but that's not important really because, you know, they're a multi-million-dollar corporation. I think it's unfair for the kids who worked for 6 months getting ready to come over here for the Goodwill games and then had the rug pulled out from under them with virtually 48 hours before they were supposed to leave. If we were in violation of some law, we were in violation of it 6 months ago, and it could and should have been attended to there. I think it was a purely political thing myself, but be that as it may, that's the way it is, and these young men get the chance of a lifetime, and the other kids' misfortune is to their benefit, and let's hope that they can acquit themselves well. It's a long shot, but I think it's tough for the U.S. boxing team anyway, because, you know, after every Olympics, the cream of the crop turns pro and makes a lot of money, and so you have to develop more young fighters. That doesn't happen in many countries in the Eastern Bloc, because fellows who are not professionals per se spend year after year fighting, you know, 50, 60 bouts a year. So the U.S. was a long shot anyway. Now I guess they're a little bit of a longer shot, but those kids are going to have to suck it up and give it a whirl, and we'll see what happens.
So basically, I think I have this generally accurate about the format of the boxing in the various weight divisions. The quarterfinals start tomorrow and also on Saturday, and it's kind of a single elimination, box your way out of your group to get to the finals.
That's my understanding. As you know, I just got here. Paul Horning's got the whole thing figured out. So does Don Chevrier. I don't do any boxing today. I'm off moto balling. So.
Oh yeah, let's talk about moto ball. People in the Soviet Union and Northern Europe particularly are very familiar with it. You became familiar with it during the raging contract battle over whether or not you would cover Motoball, as we remember.
Yes, that's right. And I also have the franchise. I'm the czar of Motoball in North America. I'm going to be selling franchises as soon as we get
We're going to
back.
have a league.
Tell you what, I think it's going to be. I've never seen a Motoball match that I didn't thoroughly enjoy. But I think it must be a pretty good sport. You know, 50,000 people turn up in Atlanta every time they have motocross. Well, this is almost the same thing. You got motorcycles. People over here love soccer, and the World Cup is just on, and it's what it is soccer on motorcycles, or ice hockey on motorcycles, or polo on motorcycles, whichever you prefer. I think it'll be very interesting. Also, I think these guys are nuts, but...
Particularly the goalie.
Yeah, well, you can recognize him. He doesn't have a motorcycle. You can recognize him. He's the one with the tread marks up and down his back. No, actually, the motorcyclist...
I feel like I've already seen a match now. Just you're describing it to me.
Yeah, well, thank you. See,
you should get in the business when you grow up, baby.
It's 4 guys on motorcycles and 1 guy who isn't, and he's the goalie, and the guys who are can't go into the goal crease, and the goalie can't come out of there.
And if they do go into the goal crease,
then you get a corner kick or something like that.
You get a penalty shot. That's going to be
penalty shot. That's it. Yeah.
I think is that it?
I think
that sounds right, doesn't it?
It does. That's what it is in hockey.
As you can see, this is our late night show. Skip Carey is here. We are going to have a good time. Hope you do too. And we'll be covering the Goodwill games too, by the way. Stay with us. We'll continue in just a moment. Welcome to Moscow.
Thank you.
Welcome back to Late Night in Moscow. CNN's Stuart Laurie has been Moscow bureau chief for the past 3.5 years. During the Goodwill Games coverage, he's been reporting on his Moscow. And tonight, a look at the art world here, how artists serve more than one master.
It's always been one of the weather vanes of how much individual freedom there is in the Soviet Union. For the past 30 years, the ups and downs of one artist in particular has helped tell which way the wind is blowing. I spent some time with that artist a few days ago.
Ilya Glazunov rushes me from painting to painting. The 56-year-old artist is in a hurry. Never before has he basked in so much acceptance. Glazunov is a paradox. He is this country's best-known living painter, but he's also one of its most controversial. Many very important people in Moscow do not like his work, but the public loves it. His one-man show in the old Tsarist riding stables is one of the hottest tickets in town right now. Crowds are waiting up to 3 hours to see it. What they see are paintings and themes that are unusual for the Soviet Union. Christ carrying the cross, his agony vivid in a country where religion is frowned upon. Fyodor Dostoevsky, as gloomy as you might imagine, in a country where art is supposed to inspire optimism. The pageantry of a religious funeral, set against the backdrop of the monotonous city skyline, which Glazunov calls a disgrace. Glazunov has worked hard to win acceptance, but he wants it on his own terms. Voluntarily, he has traveled to Vietnam, Nicaragua, and Chile to portray the anti-capitalist revolutions in those countries in the hope they would gain favor at home. That has helped. But the high awards he covets have escaped him. His detractors have even kept him from membership in the prestigious Academy of Arts. Maybe this show will finally get him official recognition. Here, a Communist Party art expert recites for us what she wrote in the show's guest book.
I thank you, sing praises, and am proud. Great and glorious are our Russian people. Great and glorious is our artist patriot.
Part of Glazunov's appeal is his reawakening of Russian nationalism. His studio glitters with religious art and icons that he has collected over the past 30 years. It also contains a monumental painting that the authorities would not allow him to hang in the exhibition. It is called The Mystery of the 20th Century. The canvas is a potpourri of history, starting with the downfall of the Tsars in 1917 and running through the space age. You can find everything from Albert Einstein, Ernest Hemingway, and even Louis Armstrong to John F. Kennedy and the Beatles. There's even a mirror to add yourself to the mystery.
Ilya Glazunov is a wealthy man, if not a fully content one. He's an example that you can maintain individuality in this collective society. But I cannot yet say whether his new success means a general loosening up here. I'm Stuart Laurie. That's my Moscow.
Now it's time to begin our coverage of water polo. The USA team in action today against the team from Greece. Water polo is held at the Lenin Central Stadium open swimming pool. It's not the same pool or the same area where the swimming competition takes place. You can see the location on our map there. The pool located in the midst of the Olympic complex, which includes a sports palace, a small arena, Druzhba, and the large arena, the primary Lenin Stadium. So let's go now for coverage of today's game between the USA and Greece.
The sprint is underway, beginning the fourth period, fourth and final quarter in this competition between the United States and the team from Greece. The site, the Lenin Center Sports Complex swimming facility, the swimming pool here in Moscow. The American squad holding on to an 8-5 margin of victory, entering into this final period of play. 7 minutes per quarter. Chris Doris, Olympic silver medalist, alongside me. Shot taken by Terry Schroeder. It goes wide.
John, thus far in the game, the U.S. has looked real sluggish. They haven't been concentrating, I don't think, on what they need to do. Goal differential is vitally important here, and it's important that they play good defense as well as good offense.
It's somewhat of a catch-22, though, Chris. You say that the officials don't like to see a lopsided game, so they officiate in favor of the losing team just a little bit to give them a chance to tie it up a little bit. We have an ejection. American, number 4, Peter Campbell. He will go to the sidelines for 45 seconds, giving the Greeks a 6-5 man advantage in the field for 45 seconds, or until a goal is scored, whichever comes first.
Greeks have scored a couple times on the 6-on-5, but the U.S. seems to be defending them real well. Let's see how it works out this time.
Craig Wilson in the cage.
And we've got another ejection there. Peter Caccino was holding on during the passing. Mr. Papachon from France ejected him for interfering with their 6-on-5.
So now it's a 6-on-4. Very difficult position for the goalie, Craig Wilson. Shot taken, deflected. Wilson hits it over the cage.
Like got a little piece of that too, John.
35 seconds back on the shot clock.
It's important for the top people. Looks like it's mostly Alan Muchwar, but to get help from Bergeson and Campbell, it's important for them to move.
Okay, one of the two Americans is back in the play. America stopping the play. Craig Wilson, the goalie, of course. Goalies wearing number 1 on their red caps.
That was a smart move on their part because you wanted the guy on the far side with the worst angle to be shooting the ball, even though he's already scored.
So now Peter Coutinho comes back into action. We have a 6-on-6 playing in the field. The officials for today's game from France, Richard Papajan and Eugenio Asensio. Papajan from France, Asensio from Spain. And a goal was scored on a 6-on-6 play. Terry Schroeder, the hole man, puts that one in for the score. The score is now 9-5.
Well, as we mentioned, John, that was a Schroeder muscle move. You see it here on the monitor, and he just brings his guy around. The defense is trying to double team him. He doesn't give him a chance for it. It was a 3-on-1. The goalie came out and tried to lunge him as well. Terry's an extremely strong player at 2 meters. Very few people can stop him 1-on-1. Greeks couldn't even do it 3-on-1.
Terry Schroeder, 6 feet 3 inches tall, 200 pounds. He's a chiropractor. Graduated recently and been the team captain for a while, a couple of years. Now, we mentioned that the Greek team lost to the Soviets 10-2 the other day, giving an 8-goal differential. The Americans are trying to do at least that well, now holding on to a 4-goal advantage. But with 4.5 minutes remaining in the final period of play, the last quarter, doesn't look like they may get there.
Well, it's important for them to play steadily and consistently, and right now, at least this game so far, they haven't been. There's a shot right there. Wilson knocked down very nicely.
Craig Wilson is very attuned at controlling the ball, and I'm really deflecting the shot.
Well, it was all he could do to get that shot. It looks like the U.S. has a 3-on-2 advantage.
Ferguson all alone, pumps twice, and it's good. James Ferguson scored the first quarter, scores again in the fourth.
That was a beautiful shot, John. It's very difficult for a goalie to pick something up like that cross cage. Watch this hitch fake. Nail that guy down near side. Here he goes cross cage with a shot, wraps his arm around the defender, and in for the goal.
So the score now 10-5 Americans with a 5-goal advantage. They need 3 more goals before the end of this game if they want to compare with the performance turned in by the Soviet Union 1 day prior.
That's exactly what they have to do, John. Tough, solid, hard-nosed defense, force the turnover at the other end, counterattack to the offensive end, hope for a shot off the counter, but if not, a nice, logical front court offense. They could do it in the time left if the referees will let them.
So the American squad having some strong veterans but not played together as a team consistently this year in front of the cage.
There's that good defense they're looking for, John.
Ball stolen. Peter Campbell from the United States stolen back again by Rupakas from Greece.
That was unfortunate because Peter Campbell looked like he had a real nice steal there.
Tight defense in front of the cage by Jody Campbell.
That's right. Jody's probably the best 2-meter defender on this team.
Playing against Vagelos Pateros from Greece. In front of the cage. Open water, pump shot, no good. Goes to Peter Campbell of the United States.
Fortunately, that shot went off the bar. The Greeks were trying to isolate one of their larger players on Kevin Robertson there, which they ended up doing, but Kevin now is one of the free men at the other end of the tank.
Ball to Doug Burke. Right side. Doug, a UCLA Business School graduate. Stanford undergraduate. This is where the drivers make their value known. Peter Campbell with the ball, passes out to Jody Campbell, no relation. In front of the cage. And it's an offensive foul. Turnover by the United States.
Yeah, it was pretty obvious that time that Schroeder was holding his man over, but that was a great recognition between Jody Campbell and Terry to even get that pass in there. The Greek had his back to him, and they thought, what the heck, let's try it. The shot clock's running down.
35 seconds every shot clock. 2 minutes, 44 seconds remaining in the game. Americans, Chris, you feel might begin taking some outside shots soon?
Well, they've been taking those shots in the past. I don't think that they're going to change anything they're doing, but you can bet they're going to be countering.
Wide shot, hits crossbar, goes over. America's ball. Even though the score currently stands at 10-5, it is important for the Americans to win this game by at least 8 goals for them to feel competitive with the Soviet Union. Remember, round-robin tournament, if 2 points for a win, 1 for a tie. If there is a tie at the end of the tournament, the eventual winner will be declared by the largest margin of goals scored versus goals scored against.
So it's a total. That's a great pass.
Quick
there.
pass. Peter Campbell, he skips it in off the left-hand corner for the score.
That whole shot was set up by Terry Schroeder, though, John. Terry set the goalie up on the near side of the goal. He's got the ball there. The goalie's got to honor him. There's Peter waving his hand. Gets the pass. A quick shot near side. The goalie didn't have a chance.
So, with less than 2 minutes remaining to play in this game, the United States holds on to a comfortable 11-5 margin of victory over Greece. We'll break away now, but we'll be back with more exciting action in the duel between the Soviet Union and West Germany, a game with real medal implications.
Of the 1986 Goodwill Games have been brought to you by Pepsi. When it comes to taste and refreshment, time after time, it's Pepsi, the choice of a new generation.
Wrestling gets underway tomorrow at the Druzhba Multipurpose Gym. We were able to get a camera into the U.S. team practice today and caught our color commentator for wrestling, Russ Hellickson, who's the 1976 Olympic silver medalist, grappling with Bruce Baumgartner, the preeminent U.S. 130-kilogram wrestler. That's heavyweight. That's Russ there, who's a little heavier weight now than during his wrestling days, but is still pretty good shape. Of course, not all commentators go to such extremes in their preparation, but we'll expect to see Russ in the commentating booth and Bruce on the mats, and the action begins in wrestling tomorrow. So I hope you'll join us for our coverage of that. There's the U.S. team working out. Bruce Baumgartner, of course, a favorite to win. He's one of the returning champions. And Russ Hellickson is now the head wrestling coach at Ohio State University. And it's heavyweight night. Heavyweight Bob Neal, heavyweight Skip Carey. Although, by the time you leave, because of the excellent food but high protein value here, you can drop a couple of pounds.
Well, yeah,
I've done that.
I'm looking forward to that, yes. And thank you for bringing that to my attention.
You'll be a lean, mean fighting machine. I wanted to just chat with you about a couple of things, unless I've made you mad at me, but I don't think I've done that.
Not for years.
Yeah, that is that you've come into town just a day or two now, but I thought maybe you would have developed some observations on Moscow.
Well, I did. The first thing I noticed was that they're the politest people in the world as far as drivers are concerned. Nobody ever honks their horn, or if they do, there's a major hang-up. It's not like New York.
It's serious when you honk your horn.
Yeah, but the cab drivers are even worse, I think, than New York. They'll take you, like yesterday I had to go down to Red Square to get all this junk.
Yeah,
you have to
credentials.
Yeah. So I cabbed it down there, that was no problem, but on the way back, I kept showing them the Cosmos Hotel written in acrylic or whatever they call it. It's not acrylic.
Close. I think Cyrillic, but
Cyrillic,
it's close.
Cyrillic. You know what I mean.
Sometimes
anyway,
it's written in acrylic in Cyrillic.
Yes, that's what I meant to say.
I knew that.
I'm glad you pointed that out to me. At any rate, I couldn't get anybody to take me back. And
I'm so glad to have you here.
Finally, instead of a 2 kopecks, I just, used the international language of 5 and got back right away. But a fellow was telling me that there's a statue of Lenin standing up like this. And the story here in Moscow is that he was trying to get a cab offering just 1 kopeck and he turned to stone. So maybe that's how things work. Then I also went on a boat ride and a little man came up to me and said, I don't care if we have peace or not, but I guess that story is not worth it.
No, he didn't say that. Nobody said that, did he? No, not at the Goodwill Games. And you didn't go on a boat ride yet, did you?
Told me that story.
Paul Horning has been on a couple of boat rides, taking pictures, as a matter of fact. Well, I'm going to get out of this before both our careers even have more problems.
I think we're too late.
It could be. I think it could be too late. It's already begun. We're going to go back to water polo. You were watching the United States playing Greece a moment ago. The USA and the USSR are headed for a showdown on Sunday. The USSR had another, what you might call a tune-up match today with West Germany. And since the U.S. and the Soviet Union are going to be playing each other, we thought we'd rejoin our commentator, John Neighbor, for some coverage of that Soviet Union and West Germany game. By the way, the final score was 11-5 in the USA-Greece game.
Welcome back to water polo. John Neighbor and Chris Forrest here at Lennon Central Stadium, water polo facility, watching the Soviet Union play the team from West Germany. The score is 3-1. The Soviets have a 2-goal advantage, although the West German team has been playing fairly well, just unable to benefit by that with their points.
John, the story here has been the failure of the Germans to capitalize on opportunities. They had 1 penalty shot blocked. They've had 2 6-on-5s that have been rejected. Normally, that's the strongest part of the Germans' game. They've got to score those to be able to be in the same game with the Soviet Union here.
Even off in the hole at the 2-meter position, he's calling the fouls. We have an ejection now. That's number 2 for the West Germans. Jerk Jacoby, and it was immediately converted into a goal.
Absolutely. That's what they call as a quick. When the 2-meter defender is ejected, he has to move away from the man, and if no one's near to him, the man's left right in front of the goal.
Ivanov, number 10 in the black, immediately taking advantage with his arm, putting it up and in the corner of the cage. So now the score goes to 4-1. The Soviets with a 3-goal advantage.
Absolutely. He's got tremendous hands, as he showed on that replay, John. It's tough when you got a guy that big who can handle the ball so well.
So Ivanov scores his third goal in this the second goal in this competition. He is a big scorer for the Soviet Union, one of the bigger guns.
He got 4 yesterday. That gives him 6 for the tournament so far, John.
He's 28 years old, 6 feet 3 inches tall, a left-handed shooter. Now on, Adrian Shervan from West Germany brings the ball downfield. Crisp passing is the sign of a good team.
Absolutely, and both these teams are tremendous passing teams. The problem with the German 6-on-5 so far has been poor passing, but it looks like they got an ejection on the 2-meter man. Kutenko's kicked out for 45 seconds. Let's see if they can convert to this.
So the West Germans trying to take advantage now, go into their 2 and 4 zone offense. The Soviets in a 2 and 3. The West Germans so far unable to capitalize on such a man-up advantage. Shot wide and good. Goes in over the head of the goalie. That's scored by Frank Keeshan from West Germany. Sees the opportunity and takes it right away.
It's a tremendous shot. You'll see they're just kind of passing the ball around, not doing much. Keeshan gets way up. See how he gets out of the water. Just blasts it. It's a beautiful shot off the top bar into the cross, over to the cross side of the cage. And he's one of the younger guys. I don't think the Soviets expected him to be putting the ball up.
Well, Frank Keeshan brings the score to 2-4, so the West German squad is not yet completely out of it. It's been a low-scoring game so far. The West Germans playing well, but being unable to convert on man advantages. Outside shot, scored and good. That was the big outside shooter, Viktor Berenjuga from the Soviet Union. Catches a very distraught goalkeeper.
What a tremendous shot from the outside. That had to have been 12 to 15 meters out. He just winds up and puts it near side. Look at this shot. Boom. Top corner. You just can't get any better than that. Rulo's got quick hands, but he doesn't tend to get to those high corners. He doesn't have great legs, and they're taking advantage of that, John.
So the score now 2-5. West Germans in a three-goal deficit, having to make up some substantial ground.
That's right. I think it's about time the Germans made their move. I think you can see them start to shoot a little bit more right here.
In front of the cage. Foul called. Rainier Hop passing it out. We have a 35-second shot clock. It's counting down now.
There's a drive. That's Teasman. Oh, just
wide
went high.
Shot. Absolutely. Close shot for Rainier Hop. He just misses the cage, and now it's the Soviets' ball. The goalie throwing it downfield. Evgeny Sharonov, the Soviet goalie, viewed by many as the finest player in his position in the world of water polo.
Absolutely, and I think that has a lot to do with why the Germans aren't scoring as well. They respect his talent, and they're trying to put a little too much on the ball, trying to put it right in the corner. It just happens to be missing.
So the lob is into the hole position.
There's a shot attempted by Georgi Mishfederadze. Again, one of the strongest 2-meter men in the world. He and Terry Schroeder considered 2 of the best. Georgi tried a little backhand flip shot that time and got snuffed by the Germans. They were double teaming him.
Well, the clock ticking down now in this third quarter.
Look, John, the Germans don't have an offense. There's no 2-meter man there. They're just passing the ball around waiting for someone to set up.
That's an expensive mistake with the shot clock at 35 seconds ticking down.
Oh.
Absolutely. He ran out of time to make the shot in desperation. Tries upper left corner, bounces down. So the Soviets get the ball in possession once again.
Again, that was Teasman, John. He is throwing the ball a ton, but if that ball had been a couple inches lower, Sharonov didn't move for that. That's what the Germans have to be doing. They just have to fill it up. They've got to score.
Berenjuga drawing the foul, passing it back into play. Those whistles blowing, the officials calling the fouls. Stolen.
That's a nice steal by Teasman.
Teasman takes the ball back to his goalkeeper, Peter Rula. And now with 2 seconds remaining on the clock, long shot.
Oh.
Wide pass.
Yeah, they had to force that pass. I think Osselman, who threw it, was expecting Teasman to go to his left and lay out for the shot instead of cutting back and trying to get the kick out on his man. Too bad for the Germans.
So that does it for the third quarter of play. The score now, the USSR 5, the team from West Germany 2. the Soviet crowd substantially diminished by the threatening clouds that loom overhead. Waiting patiently for a Soviet victory here. The Soviets seem to have this game pretty well in hand right now, Chris.
Well, they're cruising along very nicely, and I tell you, they aren't a kind of a team that gives up a lead very easily. The Germans could potentially come back if they start getting the hot shooting hand, but the way they've been shooting so far gives no indication that they're going to be back in this ball game.
So we're going to start off the fourth quarter with the traditional sprint to the middle of the pool to get the ball. Sprinting for the Soviets, Yevgeny Grishin, and for the team from West Germany, Thomas Huber.
Another thing to look for, John, is the referees in a situation like this won't want the Germans to get blown out here. If the Soviets score a couple times, look for them to try to favor the Germans so that it won't be too far-sided or too lopsided a victory, rather.
So Grishin takes the sprint, passing it back to his teammates, Tutenko. And the Soviets set up for their offense as quickly as they can. The score once again, 2-5. The Soviets leading over West Germany. This is the fourth quarter. Final period in play in this water polo match. Round robin tournament. The winning team will receive 2 points towards the calculation of the eventual medal winners.
And almost as importantly, the Soviets, or whoever the winner will be going for the goal differential. And there's a kick out.
So that's a Hoppy. Rainier Hopp from West Germany is going to sit on the sidelines for 45 seconds or a goal, whichever comes first.
The Soviets have a tremendously well-disciplined 6-on-5. Watch this, John. Passing the ball, very deliberate, moving people around, attacking the defense.
Bounce in, and
it's blocked.
Blocked by the goalie. Oh, no! The goalie trying to pass it out of danger, hands it to Mikhail Ivanov of the Soviet Union, the big 2-meter man, and he promptly returns it right between his ears, right into the back of the cage. So what could have been a remarkable save by the goalie Peter Rula turns into an embarrassing moment as the Soviets now take the lead 2-6.
Now that's the kind of thing that the Germans were in a perfect spot to turn this game around, John. They just aren't doing anything right. Here's the replay. He's looking for some place to go. Most teams have a safe place for the goalie. He puts it right into Ivanov's hands. Like Ivanov needs some help scoring goals. That's his 7th of the tournament.
The strong left-hander, he's been on the national team since 1978. I mean, that's 3 Olympic games that he's potentially represented the Soviet Union at. So with the score, 2-6.
There's a steal. Look at that, John. The Soviet has a counterattack, and the Germans aren't doing anything. They just sat there. It's a 2-on-1.
Right now, Markoch all alone. Sergei Markoch all alone in front of the cage.
Boom.
Swam away and put it in the back left-hand corner.
The Germans did not react at all to that, John. I was real surprised to see that.
So with this game well in hand, the Soviets owning a 5-point advantage. We'll break here, but we'll be back tomorrow with the 3rd day of water polo competition here at the Goodwill Games in Moscow. For Chris Dorst, I'm John Neighbor.
На плечо. Шагом марш.
Water polo match we were just watching, 9-4 in favor of the Soviets. Now we'd like to go back to the world's fastest indoor cycling track at the Velodrome. Our reporter there is Kevin Christopher. Let's check in on women's pursuit finals in cycling.
These are the women's semifinals. 3K individual pursuit. You're looking at Mindy Mayfield of the United States. She is leading Edith Schonenberger. 3 laps to go in this race. A win by Mindy Mayfield would put her in the final and give her a great shot at a gold medal.
Now, Mindy looks really strong. She started off good. She started off a little bit slow, but she really looks good, and now she's picking up.
She trailed early, but about the 5th lap, she really started to open up the big lead.
It looks like now she's finally getting the rhythm of the track. She looks comfortable. She looks really good out there.
2 laps to go. Mindy Mayfield in the Stars and Stripes. Edith Schonenberger of Switzerland. And there you see Mindy Mayfield. She is gunning for a slot in the finals.
Almost 1 lap to go. Mindy still looks good. She's not going slow at all. She's speeding up a little bit. Here we go. Bell lap.
Mindy Mayfield Mayfield. She has got a big lead over Ina Schoenberger right now. She should have no problem whatsoever reaching the finals of this event. Mindy Mayfield of the United States.
1/2 lap to go. Mindy still looks strong. She's going in for that last turn.
And here she comes, Mindy Mayfield, down the stretch. There you see Edith Schoenberger, but here comes Mindy Mayfield. Crosses the finish line and wins this event at 3:53.63. That's only about 4 seconds off the world record, Jonathan. A great time and a great race by Mindy Mayfield. She will be in the finals.
That's a very good time. She rode a 3:51 in the qualifying heat. A couple seconds slower now. She might be reserving herself for the final. She wanted to beat this rider. She didn't have to go for a time. So I think she's reserving herself for the final.
As you get a good look at the Olympic Velodrome here at Krylatskaya, we are in the bronze medal race, the 3K individual pursuit for women. Galina Supran of the Soviet Union has the lead as we go into the bell lap.
As you see, Galina started off really fast, as she always has, but now she's got such a lead on Edith Schoenmaker that she will win this race. She's got a great lead, and she does look strong.
Galina Supran of the Soviet Union will take the bronze medal. She finishes in 3rd place. Coming up, the race for the gold medal between Mindy Mayfield of the United States and Switzerland's Barbara Ganz. There is Mindy Mayfield of the United States racing for the gold medal in the 3K individual pursuit against Switzerland's Barbara Ganz. Right now, it is virtually a dead heat with 4 laps to go. Mindy Mayfield of the USA gunning for the gold medal.
Now, Mindy is a very, very steady rider. She's, through the start and the rear of the race, she's just very, very consistent. Now, Barbara Ganz didn't set a world record, but she went under a world record time in her first heat. Now, this might mean she's a little bit tired for this heat.
And right now, Mindy Mayfield has taken a slight lead over Barbara Ganz.
Now, Mindy can keep this up. She's got to keep it up if she's going to win this. 3 laps left.
This would indeed be an upset. Mindy Mayfield, with 3 laps to go, is leading Barbara Ganz of Switzerland in the 3K individual pursuit. Mindy Mayfield of the USA, steady, smooth, cranking along, and she still has the lead over Barbara Ganz.
Mindy really looks good. She looks like she's picking up a little bit now. Barbara Ganz does look like she went a little too fast in that first heat.
Mindy Mayfield, 2 laps to go. 2 laps to go. She's stretching out her lead over Barbara Ganz of Switzerland.
She almost has 1 second, 2 laps to go, and that is a large amount in the pursuit final.
Barbara Ganz is going to have to go some here if she's going to catch Mindy Mayfield. If Mindy can keep it up, she will be the gold medalist in the 3K individual pursuit.
Now, Barbara Ganz caught up 2/10 of a second this last lap. She's really pouring on. You can look at her now. She's really poured on. Melinda has to keep it up.
Here we go, into the bell lap. 1 lap to go. Mindy Mayfield of the United States and Barbara Ganz in a great race for the gold medal. Barbara Ganz and Mindy Mayfield in a dead heat, 1/2 lap to go. Mindy Mayfield,
she's got to keep it up. She's got to keep it up. Here she is.
Mindy Mayfield, Barbara Ganz, Mindy Mayfield, and it will be Barbara Ganz over Mindy Mayfield. Barbara Ganz is the gold medalist. Mindy Mayfield of the USA takes the silver.
Barbara Ganz.
What a race. An absolutely marvelous display. Now let's go down to the track where Jonathan Boyer is standing by with the silver medalist in the 3K pursuit, Mindy Mayfield of the USA.
Mindy, you have just won the silver medal in the 3,000-meter women's pursuit. You came into this race looking really good. You almost got that gold medal. You've been looking good the whole race. Did you have these expectations coming into this race?
Well, I came in hoping to win, and basically I rode according to schedule, and I rode tough, and she rode tough, and she had a better kick than I did, and I can't hope for any better than just to try my best, and I gave it 100%. And
you were also the first American to win a medal in the cycling in these Goodwill Games, so you should be proud of that.
I am. The women also have the points race coming up, and hopefully we will do well in the points race. It's tomorrow night.
Okay, we congratulate you, and thank you very much.
Thank you.
So the final results of the women's 3K individual pursuit. In first place, the gold medalist Barbara Ganz of Switzerland. In second, Mindy Mayfield, the silver medalist from the United States. And Galina Supran of the Soviet Union is in third place, and she will take the bronze medal.
It's time for Goodwill Trivia once again, ladies and gentlemen. I know you've been waiting up for this for our late night show. And this one, I'll give you the, Skip, you haven't seen it yet, but you're going to love it. This is the kind of thing that you like to do, I know. And this is, I'll give you a hint on what it is, first of all. It's something to do that you could say in a race like, say, swimming or in track, or since you can't honk your horn here in Moscow, actually in traffic. And you're loving this, aren't you?
Almost drifted off.
Wait till I say this. Wait till you hear my Russian accent. You're going to love this. Nemenyat Taroshku. Nemenyat Taroshku.
I know what that means.
What do you think that means?
Well, I don't want to give it away.
Okay, the answer is...
Stay.
Stay in your lane. Yeah. Something like that. It can be said at the cycling...
Life, isn't it?
Cycling velodrome works there. It could have worked there last night if you saw the crashes we had out at the velodrome, swimming or any place. But it's said, instead of honking horn sometime, Nemenyat Taroshku.
Absolutely.
So... Speaking of staying in your lanes, we talked about traffic earlier. Since you've only been here a short time, everybody's talking about the change, a tremendous difference in the food that you're used to in the United States and the Soviet Union. Have you had a chance to eat in Moscow yet?
No.
Oh, great.
I really haven't.
This is going to be a large part of our discussion. That you were
I haven't had a chance to. I've been so busy preparing for motorball and boxing and...
We have a tremendous cafeteria here in Oshtenkovo. Yeah, we have that. We want you to try some of the food here. It really is. It's very interesting, and I'll show you the caviar. It's out of this world. I'll tell you which kind to eat and everything. Trust me, Skip.
Well, I always have. That's why I'm here.
That's right. That's why you're here. And you made a good choice once again. We'll be right back. Stay with us, and we'll continue with late night coverage at the Goodwill Games. About it for our late night wrap-up of the Goodwill Games coverage here in Moscow. I want to remind you that tomorrow boxing starts, as we were chatting with Skip Carey about just a moment ago. Wrestling also begins tomorrow. There'll be diving, water polo, moto ball begins on tomorrow. USSR women's volleyball, too, will be highlight our daytime coverage. So we hope you'll join us for that. Matter of fact, 3 of the next 4 days, there will be confrontations between teams and individuals of the U.S. and the Soviet Union. One of the primary reasons of most people's interest in the Goodwill Games. And we hope that you'll join us for that. Skip Carey, be watching your coverage with Don Chevrier and Paul Horning of the boxing.
Looking forward to it, Bob. Thanks for having me over.
Great. I hope you join us again before you go back.
Be happy to.
Okay, thanks. Marianne, we were also going to remind the folks of something that's coming up tomorrow.
Coming up tomorrow, we have, what is coming up tomorrow? Moto ball?
We have the beginning of
the very
Moto Ball
first.
tomorrow.
It'll be a new experience, and I'm sorry we did run out of time. There is no viewer mail tonight. Maybe next Thursday.
And I also wanted to remind everybody that we had such a successful day in basketball today. The U.S. women defeated the Soviet Union by a score of 83-60, and the U.S. men's basketball team, a very big winner also, over Italy. And in the men's basketball championship that's happening in Spain, just to update you on that before we close out tonight, that 24 teams entered that tournament. The tournament is now into the second round. 12 teams have been eliminated. They're down to 12 teams. They'll be divided into 2 groups of 6. They'll be playing in Oviedo and Barcelona, Spain. The United States team will be playing in Oviedo, and the Soviet Union will be playing in Barcelona. Then they will get down to the final 6 to play in the medal round, and hopefully the United States will make that one. So speaking for Skip Carey, Marianne Laughlin, this is Bob Neal in Moscow saying, Das Vidanya.